very special. Welcome to this very special workshop. We have a guest with us today who's been he's been with us since the very beginning of the start of the Rec Innovation Lab, and he's been kind enough today to join us to talk a little bit more about one of the things that we're always needing more information on, and that's technology, that's data when it comes to evaluating our opportunities and our ideas in entrepreneurship. So with that, I think I will go ahead and pass it on to our guest speaker, since we're starting already a little bit late. If anybody has any questions, let's just hold them to the end, and we can ask at the end, or put them in the chat. All right. So welcome, Devang Shah. Please feel free to take it away.
Cool. Thank you so much, Tanya. I appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining. So today's topic is data analytics, as Tanya just mentioned. We'll take you to the journey of the data analytics. And if you have a question, you can put it in chat or basically ask, when you have any questions. We'll try to keep it interactive. There's a lot more information. So let's go for it. So first of all, we all have heard the data analytics, right? So you see your weekly report on the Apple phone, or basically you are checking that how many steps are you taking, and you are seeing a chart, right? So this is all different types of analytics. And in the world of business, we talk about sales analytics and budget. So we'll talk about it in a bit, but in a basic term, what is data analytics, right? Let me minimize my. So data analytics is the science of analyzing raw data in order to make conclusions about the information. And data analytic techniques enables you to take raw data and uncover patterns to extract value insight from it. So there are several ways to apply the data analytics technique and get the value out of the data. How do we do it? So So here what you are seeing is there are different types of data analytics. And if you are seeing on the left to right, you can see that how the different types of analytics is generating the business value, right? You see the descriptive analytics, which basically looks at the historical data or the past data and tells you or tries to tell you what has happened, right? In diagnostic analytics, you basically go a step forward. You see, why did it happen? Now, in today's world, we talk more about predictive and prescriptive analytics, right? So predictive analytics is based on what you just analyze the data. You try to see in the future that what potentially can happen, right? And we will get into the details in a bit. And prescriptive analytics means that when you are predicting something and you know that this is what's going to happen, but you also want to automate that action, that, okay, if that does happen, then do this, right? So you basically, and that's where the AI, you probably heard artificial intelligence and machine learning, those things come into play. So if you kind of see on the right hand side, it talks about decision or recommendation. And then how do you take a recommendation decision and automate it to deploy into the operational system? So let's kind of, look into that, how this different discipline or types of analytics takes at the higher level. So we just talked about the basics and taking further into the world of data analytics process. So you are aware that data comes from lots of different data sources in today's world, right? It's probably lots of data gets generated from your smartphone, but at the same time, a lot of social media posts folks put in. There is a business systems in the company you manage that you enter the data in, and then those data gets collected. But this data coming from different places needs to be prepared to make sense out of it, right? So what you do, you get those data, you understand it because, based on the business knowledge, or you hire the SMEs to provide you that knowledge. You explore that data to do the analysis of that data to make sense out of that data or generate the value out of that data. And once you do, you create the data visualizations. What that is basically a different charts. And that basically tells you, it tells you the charts. For example, a lot of folks measure that I walked 10,000 steps today or 7,000 steps today. And then it tells you that how many steps per week you walked in a visualization, right? Taking it further down on a classification, right? So you can go to here that you have lots of data generated from different places. Let's take an example of a sales data. You have different states, you're selling your products and you want to classify or cluster that how many products and what type of products you sold in particular geographical locations. So you can basically, apply your logic and then kind of get into the machine learning. Basically, you're trying to predict it. You're feeding this data as you are seeing in different steps and try to predict that what can be my potential sales. We are in November, but you can say that by next November 2021, what going to be my monthly sales? So you can predict it, right? And after that, you can even go further in analysis or analytics of your data with artificial intelligence. So for example, you kind of know that what your sales looks like in next 12 months, but there are a bunch of opportunities out there, but you want to prioritize this, right? Because there are every opportunity in a business has a risk associated with it, and you want to make sure that you are prioritizing such a way that you can materialize that opportunity into a win, right? So how that comes into play, we'll look into some dashboards in a minute and go from there. So any questions so far? All right, we'll continue. So in the world of business, you heard the word metrics and KPIs. So you have to measure your progress. So how much sales you did, are you on track with your budget? So how you measure that, right? You have to have a quantifiable way of doing it, and it's called key performance indicators, right? It's a quantifiable values expressing the business performance in particular time frame, right? Like monthly sales, weekly sales. They are used to track organizational process. So what that talks about is also that everything happens like when you sell something, you first receive an order, right? And if you're a manufacturing, then you basically make sure that you have those products available. So there are stages before you when you ship that order, right? So that's the process. It's talking about the different stages of the business process. Improving efficiency. If you track all those different stages, then you can see that where it takes the longest time or what are the bottlenecks, and you can help improving the efficiency by having those KPIs. And help business to understand and reflect on outcomes, right? That's what it's all about. You want the positive outcomes. All you are looking for, making a good profit and helping your business and your employee to grow together, right? So let's take an example here of a marketing, that how my budget is tracking. So if you look on it, so it says that total spend, right, on the upper side, and any marketing you run the different campaign events, how much each campaign is costing you, how the users are interacting on each campaign, right? So I'm not going to get into the detail, but it gives you the gist of it, that how one dashboard provides you a holistic view of your marketing, right? And then you can deep dive using this dashboard. Generally, it should allow you to get into the detail, whatever you want to see about either campaign or about your, budget, how it's trending, right? So let's look at another example of sales. That what details should I keep an eye on, right? As a business, you want to see that what is happening, and to know that you basically create certain KPIs and try to track it, that how are you trending on those KPIs, on the right direction or not? If not, why not, right? And also have a realistic expectations as well, right? So here what this helps with data analytics, that you are talking with the facts and not with the gut feelings, right? So experience is important, but combining with the facts of data, it tells you, that's what matters, right? So that's a key performance indicator. And here I'm talking about the types of data. It's very important. So if you see you guys are young, but many years ago, mostly data is a business application. You enter the data, and generally it's a structured data, right? Your business application captures the data, and off you go, and you try to do the data analytics on it. But if you see on the left-hand side, how the trend of data is growing. So increasing the growth of pretty much more and more unstructured data, right? So traditionally, familiar is a structured data. Your business application collects it. It gets stored in the traditional database in the context of this, but where I come from, the database has grown in a number of ways. And today's world, really sophisticated database platforms out there. But here in this context, is talking about the traditional database called relational database platforms. Semi-structured data, right? It's basically textual data with an apparent pattern. So there are, in a business world, there are folks are developing a spreadsheets trying to collect the data. In a small business, that's pretty common. Even the larger business, it's common too, by the way. And a bunch of XML files, but it has an important data, right? And that needs to be processed as well. Here in the terminology, it's called semi-structured. The quasi-structured data is a clickstream data. You guys familiar going to different website? You're clicking things. You're trying to go and look at different products. So those are the data being constantly collected by the those vendors or the website platforms to see that what folks are interested in and what they click more on. And if there are different campaigns, then which campaigns is basically folks are clicking more and trying to understand it, the pattern of it. And you see the unstructured data is the game of town today, that Twitter, social medias, like most of the data in today's world collected are unstructured. But as a business, they need to make sense out of it. They need to still understand what that means. So, if folks are doing Google search in particular zip code, then let's say Google is saying, seems like there are more folks impacted here in this area, whatever that disease is. But they probably may know faster than the government knows, because they're basically looking on the real time at what kind of search are happening from particular area, right? And those are basically going to be different types of questions. Those are not a structured data. So this gives you a kind of different types of data being collected across the board by the business or platforms. So this is something I've captured for the on a COVID perspective. This is a known fact that we all are trying to be staying safe and healthy, which is an important part today. So, we just talked, it's a wrong spelling up there, but it's a predictive analytics I'm trying to say here. So what it's trying to say here is that, on the, based on the, if you see on the top, it's a real-time data collection that how many cases are keep coming, right? Then it's telling you the rate of, how much cases are doubling. So it's like increasing, if you will, right? But at the same time, good news is that there are recovering is doubling as well, right here. But the interesting thing is if they can predict the what are the new cases are going to be, then what it will do, it prepares the government, the hospitals, that if it's going to go in certain rate, then we need to be ready with the staff, with the equipment and whatnot in the real time, right? So it allows you to be proactive, not reactive, right? So that's where this data analytics allows you to provide what's really happening and not make decisions based on gut feeling, but based on the real facts which data is telling you. And then it allows you to make this proactive approach, which is needed pretty much in every area if you want to be competitive. So that takes us into the world of big data. So that's the buzzword you may have heard probably long enough, and that's important, right? But generally, we talk about big data in terms of volume only, and I'll tell you in a bit that there is a much more than volume when we talk about the big data. So this is a definition from Wikipedia that what is big data, right? The big data is a field that treats ways to analyze, systematically extract information from, or otherwise deal with data sets that are too large or complex to be dealt with by traditional data processing application software. So again, this is saying that traditional data application software has challenges dealing with these big data sets. I'm telling you that to today's world, the technologies are available to tackle not just a large data sets, but variety of data sets. Technologies are there. What you want to get or what your goal is, it's more important. So today, the very, very sophisticated technologies are available and are available much easier through the cloud platform than was I at least even maybe 5 years ago, right? So here we are talking the V's of data, meaning it's not always about the volume alone, right? So in today's world, we have a lot of sensor data, right? Social media data. The massive volume of data is being generated. I was just looking that, Boeing 737 collects 20 terabytes of data in 1 hour just from the engine alone. And it has about, I think, 3,000 or 30,000 data points, right? Can you imagine that how many planes out there? And that's per hour. And we do it. So that means there is a capability out there to collect such a huge data, right? The other thing is veracity, meaning the truth about the data, the quality of the data, which is very, very important, right? Because you can have the data, but the quality of the data is not good, then garbage in is garbage out, right? And you don't want that. So it's very important to have a knowledge, or the subject matter expert has the criteria to make sure your data is a good quality data. Velocity of data, meaning the speed it's coming, right? So in today's world, you are watching Netflix, right? It's a live data. Netflix is telling you that you watched this movies last time, so we think that you should be watching these other movies, right? How they're saying it basically based on what they have collected, plus how you are clicking as we speak, right? Or as you are doing things on your screen. So velocity is really, really important because in today's one, people want things in real time and help in real time. And that's where this come into play. And this requires a powerful technology, but at the same time, a powerful algorithms to help with that. And of course, the variety of data, right? We just talked about earlier the different types of data coming from different data sources. So this all these creates the complexity, not just the volume perspective, but also the different aspect of veracity, velocity, and variety. So it's important to think about the different aspect of the data when you deal with it, right? That how when you're applying the analytics, but are you dealing with the quality data? Is that data set you are dealing with is accurate, right? Uh, where that data came from, right? So those are the important questions. Why? Because you know your business data, but you also want to know that how your business doing compare to your competitor or within your industry. So there are market data which is available, right? So you get the market data and compare with how your company is performing, then you can see that, well, what do I need to do better in order to either improve or even uh, if I'm doing better, then how can I do even more better, right? So but that's how you think about when you are trying to do data analytics. This talks about how much data is generated. So think about it. On the left hand side, data generated in a day, crazy, right? And on the right side, data generated in a minute every day. So 500 million tweets a day. Netflix is, let's see, on the right hand side, the user streams about 97,000 hours of video per minute, right? It's massive amount of data is being generated. So, and that's the thing that when you are subscribing or signing up for like free services, you think, well, this is great, but how these guys are making money, right? So this is how they're basically getting your data for free and collecting millions of people's of data and trying to do the analytics on it. And that's where their money is. That's how they make the world of Google and all the social media of the world. Any questions so far?
I do have a question personally about this. So, yeah, this is shocking, right? This is a ton of data, but I'm wondering how many users do you need on your platform if you were to want to actually generate an income off of selling the data? Let's say you're a startup that's creating an app. Like, how many people would you need in there?
So generally, it's not about the number, it's about what your use case is, right? Basically, you may be happy with 50 people, or you may need a 5 million people. It depends on what your end goal is.
No, I mean
Because
to sell
either you are selling a product or a service,
so
right?
I mean to sell the data. To sell the data is what I meant. I'm sorry, I was unclear. Like how many people would you need to have on your platform to sell data to make that actually generate any real money and not just pennies?
I have not done it, so I don't know how many you need. But what I'm basically you need, hundreds of thousands, if not less, and not just about that data alone or people alone. It's the value is in what type of data you are collecting, right? So you are collecting a demographic, you are collecting people's interest. It's all about what type of data you are collecting, and that all comes down to what your end goal is. So I was just explaining earlier about Boeing 737, right? They are collecting all this data in a real time, but their goal is to how they can use that data to make their product better, or that if they find something which is like a kind of a saying a fault alert or something, then they want to take an action,
Yeah.
right? So there are, a product which is kind of telling you that, hey, about to go bad. So, people install things on, on ocean or in the different geographic locations where it's very hard for a person to reach. What they need is proactively getting an alert that, the temperature of this particular component is high than normal range. So it's a good time to replace it, right? So you have to predict it, but then you can proactively take action before that component fails, because if it fails, then your a whole engine going to be down for such a long time, right?
Right. Or perhaps it could happen in flight and then, you're in the ocean or something. So,
That's the very, kind of a difficult subject, but
worst
that's definitely a good point, that it's better to collect the information and know and make a decision pretty much in a real time. And also, if there is no importance in a real time, you collect it, you process it, and find the patterns, that what are the things needs to be improved on to make it even better, right? Because that's the journey that we all do, is how you make things better, right? Anybody else? Good question, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you. Looks like no questions in the chat. Nope.
All
Looks
right.
good. Okay.
All right. So at the same time, you will see a lot of dashboards, and you will see a lot of visualization. But when you present those visualization, you have to think about it. So let's take an example here. You just take your time and look on the left-hand side of the visualization and the right side of the visualization. Which one you think is easier to digest or understand, right? What it's trying to tell is, once you know and you have discovered, or when you explore your data, you want to present it in such a way that it's easy to understand from either your people, business users, customer, whoever you are, doing it for, right? So you always want to telling story with the data is very important, right? Because you are telling the facts, but at the same time, you present it in such a way that it's easy to kind of, your eyes tells you that this is very easy to understand. On the other side, you have to work a little harder to understand what the message is, right?
So
Make
can I
sense?
ask a question? I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but
Please,
I'm
please.
wondering then, is there a rule of thumb for presenting the data that would make it easier to share that narrative or to get your point across? Is there something that you should do or not do?
Yeah, there is a really discipline behind this, right? So do's and don'ts. There is a really, you will even find the books just for this particular what I'm trying to say here.
Wow.
So and that's what I'm trying here today is give you the different flavor of different area of the data analytics, so that you can connect the dots of how large is this discipline and how important is different aspect of the data analytics. But end of the day, we saw the data analytics process, but what's important, the end result turns out to be the visualization, right? That's what folks see. But when they see it, they need to kind of immediately understand what the point you are trying to communicate, right? And that's what the important part is, because you can have a dashboard which has like 50 different data points in there, but people can get lost in it, right? Any other question?
No, I agreed. That's so true. So often I see entrepreneurs sharing information on data, on numbers, and there's just too much on there. There's too many numbers. It's hard to process, and it's so much nicer when you can packaged, right, in a clear packaged sort of way. So Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Definitely. Thank you. So here, this is it's a kind of a technical side here, but I'm just trying to show that how data travels within the data pipeline, right? So you see here data sources, meaning it may be a social media, it may be your business applications, it may be your phone, right? These are different data sources coming and, to a data store, meaning it's a place where basically it's being prepared, curated, and things like that, right? It can be basic, data which were already there. Then there may be a data which are coming in a real time. What this real time message ingestion mean that when this real time data coming in, sometime it needs a buffer. So this, this particular rectangle is telling that there's some buffering mechanism because a lot more data is coming and you need to process it real time. We all call it real time, but there is sometimes milliseconds or few seconds of a delay, right? Because of the network or because of the, time it takes to get to the place we want it to be. But once the data is there, there's a batch processing. What it means is like you want data to be processed every hour, every 6 hours. That means it's a batch, right? It runs in certain batches. Then you want to apply a machine learning algorithm in a real time, meaning as data comes, you are clicking on an Amazon website and Amazon is telling you based on its algorithm, hey, you might be interested in this product as well. Or the other customers also saw this particular products as well, right? So it's but what it does behind the scene, it's all machine learning. Every click you make, it's trying to make sense out of your clicks in a real time and telling you that you might be interested in this thing, right? So stream processing is pretty much, as I gave you the Boeing example, I work in a renewable industry where we have lots of wind farms across North America. So, you get this real-time data, but you want to make sure that what's your, megawatts generation going, but at the same time, you also want to know if there is something wrong with your, asset or wind turbine or whatever the asset you are dealing with on the farm, then, you take action in a real time by getting this data in a stream processing perspective, meaning real time. So after that, after you do all that processing, you need to store your data into a data store, right? So it can be a database, data lake, data warehouse. You will hear different terminologies, and as I mentioned earlier, in today's world, there are really, really good sophisticated databases out there. It all comes down to what you really want to get out of it, right? And once you have that data collected into one data store or multiple data stores, you can use that data to do the analytics and reporting. Because at the end of the day, what you want is use this pipeline, apply your logic step by step, and use your end result as an analytics to make an informed decisions, right? Or automate those decisions so that there's a less manual intervention.
Can I interrupt for a question?
Yeah, please.
I'm just wondering, do you have any recommendations about automated systems that you can use to make this a less manual process? Because I know for me, I've never been able to get to to anything even remotely automated.
Yeah, I have to see your use case, right? So I hear you because you are not alone. And the reason I have put that out there is because many times focus is always on the end result, not on the journey, right? So it's basically the visualization. This dashboard looks cool, but folks do not realize that to get to that cool part or this beautiful dashboard, there were multiple steps has it gone through to get there. And that's where you try to create this platform or foundation so that when data is being consumed from different data sources and comes to the visualization, your analytics and reporting, they are well known. You know where it came from, you know what transformation or changes applied to that data, and how it came to your visualization. So you can have a full handle on your end result. Otherwise, what happens is so much manipulation happen on a spreadsheet. 5 people change it before it get to you.
Yeah.
And then you have no idea that how many people touched it and what they changed. You stuck with that end result, right? So to avoid that, you basically define that business process, that how you want that data to travel before it becomes the looking, on a nice dashboard. Hopefully I answer your question.
Yeah, I think I think maybe it might be helpful also just a one-on-one if I can show you maybe at some point the use case, and then we can, yeah.
Sure.
Anyways, I'll stop interrupting.
No, please feel free. Yeah, I don't want to be the only guy talking here. So yeah, please feel free to ask questions.
I had a quick question. Was machine learning equivalent to AI?
So machine learning is a discipline, and I will have it in a bit. It's basically AI is an umbrella term, and machine learning is part of it. And you will see that this is not a new phenomenon in a bit. It's been there for many years. It's just that we have the tools and technology in the modern world which allows us to now automate and process such a vast amount of data, so that we can use these algorithms and make things better and better, because machine learning is an iterative process. So is that what you're looking for?
That's exactly it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So this is like anything else, data has it's a life cycle. As you can see, you collect data from different data sources, as we talked about. You process it, you prepare it, right? You try to store it, whatever your needs are. And the key here is that when you store it, it needs to be secure, right? Security is a big aspect, and every time you deal with the data, you need to think about the security, right? And how you want to make sure that your data is secured, and only people who are looking at it who are authorized to look at it, right? So that's, once you have that aspect taken care, you want to use your data, meaning you want to do analytics on that data, you want to share that data with different departments or the user, or even your customer, based on whatever the business requirements are or the needs are. And when depending on your policies and procedures, you want to archive data, because you can't keep data forever. By the way, there are companies keeping data forever. So it's not, because as I said, that there are technologies, and storage is so cheap, right? So folks are archiving forever. But once you do that, you can, at some point, and there are rules, right? Like in a business that you can keep for 7 years, and either you can destroy the data or archive it, or you can reuse the data. What that means is that there is something called data tiering, that you may not need this data today, or it's not your frequent use. So you can basically put that data into a less expensive storage, and you keep only the data which is you use on a regular basis on a easily accessible or a faster storage, right? So you can reuse or repurpose the data, and again, this whole thing comes down to your business needs. Here we go, AI and ML. So it's a big subject. So as you see on the bottom, that AI, ML, neural networks, those algorithms and thought process behind it existed since 1950s, right? What is allowing in today's world is that we have the tools, technologies capable enough. You see all the cloud platform, they are allowing the flexibility and scalability to grow fast and quick, or in a larger scale, so that you can do and apply these machine learning algorithms based on, depending what you want to achieve, right? So, and you can see on the right-hand side that artificial intelligence is a program that can sense, reason, act, and adapt, which is a larger umbrella. Within that, you have machine learning, which are the algorithms whose performance improve as they are exposed to more data over time. So it's kind of telling it it's an iterative process. So you start somewhere and then you continuously feed the better data or the larger data set to get the better results, right? It's all about the probability that, and there are algorithms to tell you at how closer you are to what we call it an optimal level of outcome, right? So you can say that, yep, if I am 0.7, then I'm compared to ones, then I'm good. That makes me happy that that's a good output of my data. I learned something. And deep learning is again a subset of machine learning in which multi-layer neural networks learn from vast amount of data. So also, there is an automation. So what happens is you see here in a deep learning, these are different nodes, the dots you are seeing, right? So when you see the outcome of the data, these nodes has basically knowledge to, depending on the output, it will adapt over time, right? That's what the artificial intelligence means, that you are learning from your own data continuously. But here you automate this whole chain of events or the data pipeline, right? So this is a huge discipline and very, very hot area in today's world. And so does AR and VR, right? So, you all probably have used this, playing games, getting into virtual reality, which is basically takes you in a different world. It seems like you are in there, even though, you are sitting on your chair. And the second, what you see that you probably in industrial terms, you may have heard digital twins. What that is that there's a physical, a machine somewhere, and there is a, a logical image which is available in front of you. The changes you make in there applies over there. So it's more like a, when you will see, it's a huge area, also a growing area where you can look it up, called digital twins, right? And augmented reality, right? It's basically overlays digital images onto the real world. So you can kind of combine all this discipline and develop the products which ultimately helps you make money, but at the same time helps the community to use that as well. You can read this slide. It's basically everything what you saw here is like anything else requires governance, right? I don't know how many of you watch the CNBC, the Profit series, Marcus Lemonis. You hear him always talking about people, process, and technology, right? He basically goes into the business who pretty much about to shut down, and then he, kind of provides them that how to change the product, how to build the product, and apply the technology. And he values people, right? People are the assets. So how people, process, and technology can provide this governance and try to basically accomplish the goal of the company in a more ethical way, if you will, right? So you can go and it's a huge discipline, again, as I said, where you can get into the details, but this is about, governing the whole structure. So key takeaways. Data is important. Leverage data as a strategic asset for your business. Embedding data analytics in the decision-making culture has positive impact on your profitability, right? So you're making informed decisions, not based on your gut feelings. Data analytics drives product innovation, right? Because if you find certain patterns or certain things from the data, it can be a commodity, right? A better customer experience. We just saw that how to do certain presentation using data, which helps you improve the customer experience. And yourself, you can know that if you have a better customer experience, even if your product is expensive, user will buy it from you, right? So that's important. Optimizing and improving business operations and services. It's a given, right? So if you want to improve or add efficiency to your business, data analytics is important. It's a key channel for fraud prevention and organizational security. So data and analytics is huge in today's world because we are all using so much data, right, in a different ways. And you hear that bots and virus, and in these election times probably more people attacking different websites. So have you collect this data coming and figure out that this looks like a wrong or intrusion, and you can basically shut down the traffic and prevent your organization to getting in trouble. So, but how do you do it? Again, you collect that data, analyze it in timely manner, and make a decision. And as technology is essential, and so does the culture, right? So data analytics needs to be ingrained throughout the organization in tangible ways. And two, this important part, what gets measured gets done. So if you know where you're going and how your sales or profit or products are doing, and if you're measuring things in quantifiable manner, then you will continuously get the job done or improve upon what you are trying to do. So that's my data analytics. Any questions?
That's wonderful. No, I thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We will take questions if anybody has them, but I do want to get a photo before those of you who have to leave for the next class. So if perhaps any of you wouldn't mind just turning on your cameras, if you would like to take a photo together, great. And we're gonna go ahead and take one photo all together once we get those cameras on. And thank you so much, everyone. Great. All right, let's do photo in, wait for Andrew to come back in 3, 2, and 1. Cheese. Great, wonderful. Okay, so thank you, Devang. If any of you want to stick around for asking questions, please do. I know some of you need to get going to your next class, and those of you who do, we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much, Devang.
Definitely. Thank you, Tanya, for the opportunity. Yeah. Any questions? Please feel free.
Yeah. Could people please remember to fill out the survey? It's in the chat. We'd really appreciate some feedback. Thank you.
Sorry, Angela, I forgot about that. I know we had said we would make sure to address that, but thanks for reminding us on that one. Any questions from anyone? Anything that, Devang, that you want to just kind of leave us with here at the end?
Well, I kind of just did, and I'll send this slide deck via Manisha to you. So, you can share with the team here. But it's I think it's a huge area. It's a growing area. You probably hear the term data in anything and everything you will talk about. And if you are running business, you definitely want to use the data you're collecting to make, a value out of it to improve upon your business, as well as, help your customer providing better products.
Thank you. And I would love to chat with you a little bit one-on-one. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop the